More on Thomas and Bertie. Thomas is taking truckloads of building materials from the harbour to a new factory near Wellswood. Thomas met up with Bertie at a level crossing. Thomas hopes that Bertie will see his special load of freight, but Bertie called out, "I am full of passengers, and you are only carrying freight." "Well, freight is very important, Bertie," reminded Thomas. "Whatever you say," and Bertie roared off. Thomas went on his way too. The next morning, Thomas is pulling a load of slate from the quarry when he stopped at a signal. Just then, Bertie roared slowly by. He made a cheeky remark. "Pulling dull freight? What a shame. I prefer seeing you with passengers." "Pa," said Thomas, and went on his way. As he approached the next station, he slowed down and see Bertie in the lane. He is stopped with the bonnet opened, and all his passengers gather around. "What's wrong?" Thomas asked. "You should be at the station by now." "I had broken down," groaned Bertie. "Everything was going well. A tow truck would be coming along to tow me back to the depot, but my passengers needed a lift home." "Don't worry, Bertie. I'll tell the station master what's happened." Thomas told the station master what had happened to Bertie. "I'll send Daisy over to collect Bertie's stranded passengers. Thanks for the info, Thomas." "You're welcome." And Thomas continued on with his train. At the bus depot, the mechanic found the problem with Bertie. His motor needs a new part, but the mechanic doesn't have the part, so he had to order it from a depot on the mainland. The new part is sent urgently by sea. The next day, Thomas is sent over to collect Bertie's new part. "You're just in time, Thomas. It has just arrived." Thomas is loaded up and set off to the bus depot. "Here you go, Bertie, your new part." "Thank you, Thomas." Thanks to Thomas's help, Bertie is soon repaired. He has to admit that without freight, he will not be able to go back to work. Now he realizes that even buses sometimes need urgent supplies. Thomas loves his branch line, but like all lines on Sodor, it sometimes needs to be maintained. One day, some inspectors were examining the branch line and writing down a report to the fact controller in their notebooks. A couple of weeks, the fact controller came to see Thomas. "A section of line between the last two stations will be closed for maintenance for a while." "Sir, will this mean I had to work on another branch line?" "No, Thomas. You'll continue your passenger runs as normal, but Bertie will take your passengers the rest of the way." Which meant that Bertie will help with your trains. "Yes, sir," said Thomas. Maintenance on the section of line had begun. Thomas likes working with Bertie, and Bertie is pleased to be giving Thomas's passengers a ride on the road for a change. It wasn't long before Bertie began to tease Thomas about it. "My roads are superior to your rails. May I suggest that you scrap it and take on the road for a change, so that way you can get on to the last two stations without any problems." Which ended up making Thomas cross. He tried his hardest to prove to Bertie that his branch line is really reliable, but nothing works. One day, Thomas's driver and fireman went to the station's cafe, but the driver does not put Thomas's brakes on properly, and suddenly Thomas's wheels begin to move. He tried to stop, but he couldn't without his driver and fireman. He rolled forward, heading straight towards the work site. Thomas falls right off at the break in the rails. and get stuck in the ground. Harvey the crane engine came to the rescue. Thomas felt very sorry for himself. Bertie the bus rolled up. "Well, Thomas, you decided to leave the rails for a change. I don't think that's a very good attempt. You go where the rails take you, but on the road, we go wherever. It looks like you're not used to it. But don't worry, that section will be repaired once you've been checked over." That cheered Thomas up at once. He was put back on the rails and was sent to the works to be checked over.